مرحبا، أنا اسمي أنس دوجي.
وأنا يا زماني. نحن جروب شباب قررنا نعمل برنامج على اليوتيوب اسمه نعمة الإسلام. البرنامج رح يكون عبارة عن حلقة كل أسبوع لمدة دقيقتين أو 3 دقائق نحكي فيها عن نعم الإسلام، أو بمعنى ثاني الإسلام لو فهمناه من مضمونه مو من ظاهره قديش حيساوي الحياة حلوة وسهلة. طبعا نحن حنكون سوسايتي، إنه كل حلقة ممكن يكون حدا من الشباب عم يحكي، وطبعا دقيقتين أو 3 دقائق مشان ما تملوا.
ومثل ما لكم شايفين يعني لا أنا شيخ ولا يزن شيخ ولا حتى باقي الشباب اللي حتصور معنا ولا واحد بيناتنا حيجي لكم إنه أنت اعملي هيك لتفوتي على الجنة وأنت إذا ما عملت هيك بتفوت على النار. أبدا ما لنا هيك. جايين نحن نورجي إنه الدين هو يسر وما له عسر.
تمام. وهي هي المشكلة الكثير كبيرة اللي بهالوقت، إنه العالم صارت عم تهرب من الدين. العالم صارت ما بدها تسمع الشيوخ، ما عاد بدها تسمع شيء ديني. ليش؟ لأنه عم تتهرب.
إنه هذا الشيخ بعدني عنه أي شيء إسلامي، إنه لا أنا ما بدي أتفرج عليه، كله متعصب وكله متطرف ومن هالحكي.
تمام. فنحن رح نكون صلة بيننا وبينكم وبين الإسلام مشان نحن نستفيد وبنفس الوقت أنتم تستفيدوا.
طبعا مثل ما قال يزن، مثل ما أنتم رح تستفيدوا نحن رح نستفيد، لأنه نحن كمان في ناس مع شباب مثلنا مثلكم معرضين للغلط، وأنتم معرضين للغلط. ما في إنسان معصوم عن الغلط. نحن عن طريق هذا البرنامج إن شاء الله بنستفيد نحن وياكم لنكون ناس أحسن بالمستقبل.
تمام. مشان هيك اليوم رح نبلش بحلقتنا الأولى اللي هي الحمد على نعم الله. نعم الله كثيرة مثل ما بتعرفوا،
مثل الأكل، الشرب، النوم، الفئة، الأهل، الرفقات.
إذا لاحظتوا هدول كلهم نعم صغيرة، لأنه النعم قد ما كانت صغيرة نحن لازم نحمد الله عليها. مثلا نحن بحياتنا ما حمدنا الله على نعمة الفئة أو النوم، مع إنه هدول نحن عن جد لازم نشكر الله عليها، لأنه في ناس بتنام ما بتفيق، في ناس ما بتقدر تنام. وطبعا نحن هلا بهالوقت عندنا مشكلة إنه دائما نحن بنطلع لفوق بس ما بنطلع لتحت.
بس هذا هو الطموح.
إيه تماما. الطموح مو شيء غلط، بس الطموح يعني إنك تشتغل وتشكر الله على الشيء اللي أنت عندك إياه. الله سبحانه وتعالى قال واشكروني لأزيدنكم. يعني انت وانت عم تشتغل لحتى تحقق طموحك بالحياه لازم تكون عم تشكر الله على النعم اللي هو اصلا عاطيك اياها، لانه في غيرك ما عنده اياها.
نحن دائما اللي حسيناه انا ويزن والشباب كلها انه الواحد عم يحجم مشاكله.
تمام.
كل ما تجي مشكله صغيره عم يكبرها وكثير عم يكبرها ويحجمها ويتضايق منها. يعني مثل واحد لما اهله يحرموه من مصروفه، مثل ما يجيب علامه اللي بده اياها. هذول المشاكل بنعملها كبيره وما عم نطلع على المشاكل اللي عم تصير مع غيرنا واللي هي اكبر من هيك بكثير. يعني مثلا في ناس مشكلتهم انه ما عم يقدروا يطعموا اولادهم، في ناس مشكلتهم ما عم يقدروا يسدوا ديونهم، ما عم يقدروا يدفون لاولادهم.
تمام.
مثل هيك مشاكل.
مشان هيك العبره من الحلقه اليوم انه نحن دائما نشكر الله على الشيء اللي هو اصلا عاطينا اياه، وبنفس الوقت المشاكل اللي بتصيبنا لازم عن جد نحمد الله لو قد ما كانت كبيره. كل واحد همه على قده، بس لازم نشكر الله انه مشاكلنا ولا شيء قدام مشاكل الغير. وبنفس الوقت لازم ندعي انه الله يفرج عنا المشاكل ويبعد المشاكل عن غيرنا.
يعني بالدعاء والعمل المنيح ان شاء الله بنكون ناس احسن
ان شاء الله. وشكرا كثير لكم،
وبنشوفكم الاسبوع الجاي بحلقه جديده وبنعمه جديده من نعم الاسلام ان شاء الله.
شكرا. 3 2
لا 5
يلا 5 4
تيرارا
3
سيكلا
2 1. قديش الاسلام ممكن يسوي الحياه سهله وحلوه. وحلقتين او 3 دقائق. ليش عم تشحن؟
ليش
لعم شو انك غليظ. جيب شامبو اخي. امشوا من هني.
وين وراك تمشي؟ بدي اجيب شامبو.
احنا مثل ما رح لكم هلا يزن هشرح لكم كيف
الفيديو رح يكون هو عباره عن لا تقول لي حيكون يا زلمه. ليش تقول لهم مثل ما حيكون يا زلمه؟ كل كان ظابطه. ليش تقول لهم مثل ما حيكون يا زلمه؟ ما بدي اقول لهم، اقول لهم لحالي.
بنفس الوقت بدك ترد وترد وترد
كثير كان ظابط بس انت وقت الدعاء ما فتت حبيبي.
بدنا نعمل كت ونفوت القسمة.
Hi everybody. everybody, it's Professor Michelson. This is your first substantive lecture for Justice 403, Gender and Crime. Today we're going to be talking about women and men committing crimes. There are two readings that you've done for today. The first is a report about the National Crime and Victimization Survey comparing women and men's violent offending. The NCVS is one of the two ways the United States collects data about criminal behavior, about crime in general. The first, as just an overview, is the UCR, Uniform Crime Reports, collected by the FBI from law enforcement agencies around the country. As you should know by now, the UCR is awesome in the fact that it compiles information from around the country. It's an incredible coming together on a national level. The problem with the UCR is that it only collects data about crimes that have come to the attention of law enforcement. And when that works out really pretty well when it's murder, but not very well at all when it comes to other types of crimes, such as sexual assault, for example, which really rarely is reported to police, and low-level property offenses, stuff like that. Now, the NCVS is collected by the Bureau of Justice Statistics that surveys households about victimizations that they've gone through over a particular period of time. It's generally considered to be a more accurate measure of crime around the country, especially for those particular types of crimes such as sexual assault that are unlikely to come to the attention of law enforcement otherwise. The second reading that you have is from the Bureau of Justice Statistics, just like the NCVS. It's a brief report on women offenders. I'd like you to notice two things about it. First of all, it's from the year 2000. This isn't just me being lazy and not getting the most recent version. This is because there hasn't been another women offenders report since then. Funding issues, perhaps. So let's think about why something like that might not happen. The second thing I'd like you to notice is that I have not assigned a report called male offenders. And the reason for that isn't because I'm lazy. It's because it doesn't exist. And my very educated guess about why this is because the vast majority of people in the criminal justice system are males. And therefore, if you have some of the broader briefs like prisoners in whatever year, and the Bureau of Justice Statistics puts out a report like that every single year, your statistics are going to be overwhelmingly about men because they make up such a huge percentage of our criminal justice system. And therefore, a brief on women is going to be important because it pulls those people out and allows us to see information about them. Okay? Now, just a few things to go over about the women offenders brief. The most important thing that you should recognize from this is that men offend commit criminal behavior far more than women. Their crimes are in general far more serious. Women are more likely than men to be the primary caretakers of children. Men are likely also to be fathers, but they're not generally the primary caretakers of their children. When women are incarcerated, their children generally do not go to fathers. They generally go to the female family members, especially grandmas. When men are incarcerated, the vast majority of children end up in the care of the mothers of those children. So real differences when it comes to gender for the sort of practical applications when it comes to children. Also, women are more likely than men to report prior abuse, both as children and also as adults, domestic violence, physical, sexual, emotional abuse. Now, I'd like you to be critical here. On the one hand, we're pretty sure from data over many years that women are more likely to be victimized, especially in the home. That said, take a cue from the National Crime and Victimization Survey and realize that it's also possible that reporting practices have something to do with how low these numbers are, for how relatively low the numbers are for men. Men might be less likely to report prior abuse, even to somebody who's coming around and doing a survey. And over the course of the semester, we'll talk about why that's possible and how the social construction of what a man is supposed to be may stop men from reporting abuse, particularly domestic abuse. On the other hand, gender has implications for why women are abused so much more often. And even if men aren't reporting at the levels that they might, women are still abused more. So what's going on there? And how does gender have to do with that? In general, people are more likely to have committed an offense against someone that they know. Women are particularly more likely to have done that. Men are more likely to have committed a crime against a stranger, even though it's mostly likely that they've committed against somebody that they know. I'd like for you also to pay attention to the issues of substance abuse, health, poverty. How are these things gendered? What's going on that such basic components of our life all have to do with gender, all change whether it's men or women. And then also how that affects how people are treated on the inside when they're incarcerated and also once they come out. We don't talk a lot, in this class we will, but in general, we don't talk much about how gender and crime come together. But it's one of the most obvious and steady facts that we know about our criminal justice system and about crime in general. Men commit crime far more than women do. Men are arrested far more than women. Men are convicted far more than women. Men are imprisoned far more than women. It's, and this is not something just true for the United States. It's true all over the world. In next class, we're going to talk about theories and how theories in general have failed to account for this at all. Now, there is a small percentage of women incarcerated and, committing crimes. Certainly, no one is suggesting that women don't commit crimes. But what is it about men that makes them more likely to either commit crimes or get caught for crimes or get punished for crimes? And what is it about women that makes it so that they are committing crime less, caught for crime less, convicted for crime less, imprisoned for crime less? And then on top of that, what's going on that the women who are, women about whom we have information in the criminal justice system, why are they so much more troubled in general than men in the criminal justice system, with more histories of abuse, with more severe substance abuse problems, employment, as I said, troubles then when they go back into the community and reentry. So really what I'd like you to focus on is how are men and women different, men and women who commit crimes. How are they different? Why are they different? What's going on? And don't just default to because that's the way men are or that's the way women are. What is different? You may take and again, we're going to get into this when we talk about theory, but you may take a biological stance on this. You may take a social stance on this, that as a culture we create these differences between men and women. Whatever it is, I'd like you to think about it and not just accept that the gender differences are real, but think about why you believe that to be so and what evidence you have to support the idea, support your sort of conceptions of why that's true. Okay? So, as I said, next class we're going to be talking about gender and criminological theory. Remember, gender is not, I've said this before, gender doesn't mean women. Gender means gender. It means males and females and everything in between, okay? So I'd like you to be thinking not just about this as a class about women, though that is my specialty and sometimes I default to that. My apologies. But also about men. We often think that men don't have any gender, but men have gender and it affects everything that they do. Women have gender and that affects everything that they do. So I'd like you to be make sure that you're keeping your brain active all the time as you're thinking about this, okay? So I will see you next class talking about theory and criminological theory and gender. All right? Bye, everybody.